The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Herod the Tetrarch heard about the fame of Jesus, and he said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He had been raised from the dead. That is why these powers are at work in him." For Herod had seized John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John said to him, "It is not lawful for you to have her." And though he wanted to put him to death, he feared the people, because they held him to be a prophet. But when Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company and pleased Herod, so that he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. Prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me the head of John the Baptist here on a platter." And the king was sorry, but because of his oaths and his guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent and had John beheaded in the prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took the body and buried it, and they went and told Jesus. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My dear sisters, in today's liturgy of the Word, we hear about two just and honest men, courageous men, God-fearing men. They are examples for us. But there is a little contrast. In the first case, Jeremiah is saved after his explanation. But then in the second case, John the Baptist is put to death. His head is given on a platter to Herodias. We look at the first reading, how the priests and the prophets said to the princes and all people, "This man deserves the sentence of death because he has prophesied against this city, as you have heard with your own ears." He prophesied against Jerusalem, against the temple, because people did not follow the Lord. They violated the law of the Lord. See the defense of Jeremiah. "The Lord sent me to prophesy against this house and this city, all the words you have heard. Amend your ways and your doings, and obey the voice of the Lord your God. And the Lord will repent of the evil which he has pronounced against you. As for me, I am in your hands. Do with me as it seems good and right to you." This is what is the situation in the world today. Sometimes we are criticized because we are not walking according to the law of the Lord. Sometimes we are angry with people. Sometimes we may be in the position of correcting others. But in order to buy false peace, we don't want to tell the truth. We simply keep quiet. But Jeremiah says, "My life is in your hands. I am only saying what the Lord wants me to say to you. Only know for certain that if you put me to death, you will bring innocent blood upon yourselves." And then finally the people are converted. This man does not deserve the sentence of death, for he has spoken to us in the name of the Lord our God. So we know from this passage that we should always speak in the name of the Lord. When correction is offered to us, we should accept them humbly and amend our ways. But come to the Gospel, it is so tragic that John the Baptist he is put to death. What a contrast between the two persons, Herod on the one side and John the Baptist on the other. Ostentatious, love for money, love for show, fleshly, ambitious, drinking. But John the Baptist, very austere, man of God, united with the Lord, courageous, love for justice, complete contrast. We may sometimes be led to follow Herod, but ultimately, even though it becomes a tragic death, John the Baptist fulfilled the purpose for which he came into this world. In the narration of Mark, most of the blame is put on Herodias and the daughter. But in the case of Matthew's narration, Matthew is very clear. Whatever other people may say to you, ultimately you are responsible for your acts. Matthew says very directly, it is Herod himself who seized John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias. Though he wanted to put him to death, he feared the people. Responsibility for each of our actions. All right, because of the drunken situation, he promised, but it doesn't mean he has to keep that oath made in that situation and put the innocent and courageous man to death, but he yields because of false pride, glory. And ultimately, the Lord will never keep him in peace. Actually, today's passage, as in Mark, as if a flashback, this story is repeated. He sees Jesus and immediately he thinks Jesus is no other person than John the Baptist whom he put to death. His conscience cannot be at peace. When we willingly and knowingly oppose God, we can never be at peace. Here again another lesson. We can see how closely John the Baptist resembled Jesus, or Jesus resembled John the Baptist. We are also invited to resemble John the Baptist, resemble Jesus. We are reminded of the prophet Elijah. Agaz and Jezebel plotted against, really gave a tough time to prophet Elijah, but ultimately the prophets will be vindicated. So what does the Lord tell us today? First and foremost, we should imitate John the Baptist, imitate Jeremiah. Maybe it happens in this life on earth itself we are vindicated. Even if we are not vindicated, ultimately the Lord is with us. Our worth, our reward comes from the Lord who has called us. Let us not be like the people who tried to persecute to the maximum prophet Jeremiah. Let us not be like Herod and Herodias, who bury the conscience for the sake of pleasure, for the sake of wanting to do what they want, for temporary gain. The Lord will surely be always with us and give us what is due to us. Amen.